Here with me for his very first interview on The Angle. I'm so happy to see him, Pennsylvania Senator Sen Fetterman. Senator, thank you very much for joining us tonight. You've been.
Thanks for having me on.
I know it's not like we haven't asked you for, no, I'm just teasing. It's great. It's great to talk to you. You have been against invoking this war powers resolution since the war began. So if you would comment on your colleague's new strategy of, I guess, bringing it up every day until it passes or the conflict's over, which it looks like we hope, looks like it'll be over fairly soon.
Yeah, Laura, I mean, I might be the only Democrat that supports, what's happened through Epic Fury, but I am the only Democrat, definitely in the Senate, and now the only Democrat in Congress, I think now, to support Epic Fury at this point. And I'll never understand why my party just can't just see that there's been a lot of good developments through a lot of these things. I mean, I don't, to pulverize the Iranian military, every single Democrat has said we can never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear bomb. And now they've been the evil regime. And I think eliminating their leadership is a strong development too. And Hezbollah, that's one of their proxies. And it's tremendous the way Israel has to neutralize them to the point where now they're begging for a ceasefire now too. And then I thought, almost like the media and the Democrats were gleeful, when Iran, took the Strait. And then, and then that pivot, we remind the world that we run it, we control it. And that forced China to get involved and to push Iran to just acknowledge, that's checkmate at this point. Now we have the opportunity anytime. And now we've discovered that the screen point for the Chinese is now we can block their oil coming from Iran at that point. And now that's a significant leverage in the future should that China charges after Taiwan. Now that's a leverage point too. Well, if you do that, we could perhaps shut down their oil from Iran now too. So where we are now, I think it's been a positive development, and we're not even 60 days into it. That's the way the War Powers Act works, that it is. They have 60 days. That's how it works so far. And now why would you be voting every day at this point? Why? Well, we're so close at this point to shut this down. Yes, we might have disagreements on this on a party, but we should all be behind our military at this point and say, look, let's see how this ends and let's see what it's done. And as why I'm the only Democrat, I think that's a shame. And so if they vote it up when we're back in that session, I'll vote that down then too.
There's growing opposition to Israel in your party and frankly nationally, especially among young people, turning against Israel, not just Netanyahu, the idea that our foreign policy would be tied in any way to Israel's. What is your message to them? And obviously, many in your own party, I would say the dominant viewpoint in your own party.
Oh, well, what I'm saying is that's where my party's at. I mean, 80% more of Democrats view Israel in a negative light. I mean, Plattner in Maine has a Nazi tattoo on his chest, and now it was just discovered he was cheering and he was celebrating a video online when Hamas was beating and torturing and killing Israeli soldiers. He said, "I dig it." I mean, that's part of the party. And now the radical in Michigan, now he just is polling in first place right now. So that's where our party's moving in now. And now people in Congress are now proud. They were proud to say, we're going to vote against Iron Dome. That's the system that protects and saves tens of thousands of Israeli lives. And I haven't remembered the kinds of outrage from my party as Iran just mowed down tens and tens and tens of thousands of its own young citizens for now. So now for me, I'm the last Democrat, honestly, that's proud to stand with Israel. I mean, I can read polls and see how unpopular Israel is, but I'm proud to stand with Israel throughout all of this. And now this is becoming a good outcome at this point. And vote this down again. Like I said, yeah, I'll continue to vote it down.
When is DHS going to be funded again? Senator Fetterman?
I don't know. I mean, I'm the only Democrat again that says it's wrong to shut our DHS down. It just makes us less safe. I mean, millions of Americans and millions of foreign citizens, want to enjoy World Cup. I mean, almost a month ago, they've said that the World Cup preparations are always significantly been delayed by this shutdown. I have no idea now that's going to force the Republicans to ramrod that through with reconciliation. And then that means we get absolutely zero reforms, nothing. Just like that first shutdown, we got nothing for healthcare, things that I wanted to have, maybe a 1-year extension of some of this. They will get zero reforms. And all we've done was make our nation less safe. And now we've punished, these workers. And now watch and see the kinds of things. Wow, when we have tens of millions of people showing up for a World Cup soon.
Senator, you haven't spoken out much about what's happening in some of these jurisdictions that, I call sanctuary, conservatives call sanctuary jurisdictions. New York, for instance, is refusing to turn an individual over to ICE who is responsible for burning a building down that killed 4 people. Yet they won't cooperate with ICE by turning him over. This happens all over the country, including in your state of Pennsylvania. What is your view on that, especially when it involves violent, dangerous criminals?
100%. That's outrageous. If you arrest someone that's accused of these kinds of crimes, I mean, I was the Democratic lead on Lake and Riley bill. I mean, I joined Katie Britt. I just don't, deport every migrant that's engaged in any criminal behavior. I don't care what it is. I don't know why Democrats talk about, these people that like Lake and Riley or Miles Young in Missouri. That young boy, that 15-year-old boy that was why don't we talk about that? Yeah, yes, we could talk about Renee Good and Alex Preddy, as we should. That was tragic. But also, what about the kinds of tragedies killed on the other side? Now, I'm a one Democrat that agrees 2 things must be true: secure our border, deport all the criminals, and that's why I think it's the appropriate. I think that's basic common sense, and it's part of the overall theme of country over party. Whether it's like with Epic Fury, whether now that's like our DHS, and now in terms of immigration, we can be very pro-immigration as a Democrat, but we became the party of open borders. Absolutely. Wow. 300,000 people showing up at our border. And no one was writing songs and singing songs about it. And no one was celebrating or just, so here's where we are. We have to find a way forward that, secure our border, and I think that's happened, and make better changes. And again, I was essentially the only Democrat to vote for Mark Wayne to be our next secretary. And as he's promised, he's not going to be the guy in the headlines. And now he's just keeping his head down and making appropriate reforms. So, Senator, I count him as my friend, and I'm looking forward with him.
Has Israel done anything the last several weeks that you think was a mistake in the way they approached this conflict, or things maybe Netanyahu has said?
No, absolutely not. I mean, Israel's done what was necessary, to break and destroy Hamas and to break and destroy Hezbollah. Absolutely. And also Iran as well, too. People, if you have a platform and if you want to criticize someone, criticize Iran, criticize Hamas, criticize Hezbollah, they're one gigantic war crime. They really can't engage in traditional kind of warfare. All they can do is just fire off rockets at civilians, or they can create hostages or rape and torture them underground for 2 years. That's all they are. That's the thing, so with Israel, not saying Israel perfect, America's not perfect, but we are the force of good, as Israel is. If you have to criticize some side, pick our side, stand with, our special ally. And now as Democrat continues to abandon Israel, I'll be the last man standing if that's what's necessary.
Senator, thank you very much for coming on tonight. We really appreciated the conversation. I hope you'll come back soon.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.